Welcome to Okaloosa Today, local news and information. Connecting the communities of Footwall Beach, Destin, and Okaloosa County.
Welcome to Okaloosa Today on Cox. I'm Doug Rayner with the City of Destin, and we have the privilege of a really special show today. This is the holiday edition, and we're going to be joined by Mrs. Jean Melvin, the Executive Director of the Destin History and Fishing Museum, and Shane Moody, President and CEO of the Destin Area Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank you both for being here because we are going to talk about something really cool, and that is the Primrose, the historic Primrose. Beautiful boat at one time and will be again, and how that boat has impacted this community and what's going on with it right now. So thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Well, Jean, you have a lot of history in this town, you have a lot of knowledge, and you really understand more than anybody probably the significance of this boat. Tell us about the Primrose and what it means to the city. Give us a little history, a little 101 on the boat.
Well, the Primrose is very unique and has been since it was built because it was the first of its kind in Destin. Seine fishing in Destin began in the late 1800s. This boat was built and launched in 1925. During that period of time, Jean Melvin was here fishing. Most of the men that were here were fishing with Leonard Destin, and seine fishing, if somebody don't know it, is referencing the net that they use a seine net. So they were just fishing on, well, Leonard Destin started on the tender from his sailboat that he came here on. So this was one of the first times that a boat was built specifically to seine fish on.
Right, and as a matter of fact, we have a model here that was built by the city engineer, David Campbell, a friend of yours, and the model's back here behind us, right behind Shane, and it really shows exactly what this looks like. It has one of those seine nets on the back, and tell, how big is the boat in real life?
I have to look that up. That's why I brought my glasses.
That's okay. Well, the reason why I asked that question is because we have photos of upwards of 7 or 8 men on that boat at a time, working and fishing and cooking and staying on that boat, hauling in tons of fish. Tons is probably not the right word, but many pounds, I guess you could say. It sits next to the Destin Community Center, right next to the old Destin Post Office. And the reason why we're going to be talking about this today is that we're going to restore that boat. It's been restored once before, right?
It's been restored twice, actually.
Okay. And the most recent one, I think Captain Brunson did that one. Is
Salty
that right?
Brunson restored it in 95, I believe it was.
Okay.
2005
okay.
is when that was done. But the boat is 36 feet in length and 7 foot 6 inches of beam. It carried, its regular crew was a crew of 7 men.
Wow.
And those men would go and they'd stay on that boat until they had a catch. They wouldn't come home unless they had a catch. And that was, they had all the fish they could carry. And the Primrose, like I said, was very significant because Uncle John had his mindset on how he thought he could best seine fish in Destin. And he wanted to construct a boat that would do what he wanted it to do. John George Maltezo was a Greek immigrant that had moved to Destin in 1922. And he was a boat builder, a shipbuilder. He learned in Greece and he came over to Destin from Milton. So Uncle John got John George talking to him about building his boat, and John George didn't know exactly what he had in mind either because this was something nobody had seen. So they got together for a good long while, several weeks, and drew a lot of sketches and a lot of talking, finally came up with the design for the Primrose, and it was built. And the talk around the dock was, not going to be able to fish that boat, it's way too big.
Wow.
But Uncle John was unique in that he knew how to fish, and the interesting thing is that most of the young men that came into Destin to fish eventually would go with Uncle John on the Primrose, and then they would graduate and get their own boat. But he taught the majority of the men that came into Destin how to seine fish.
Now, you're referring to Uncle John, so you have some pretty deep ties to this boat, not just the community. You're not just a part of the museum and the executive director, but tell us how you're tied to the Primrose. You have some family members that have been on that boat when it was in the water, don't you?
Oh yeah, they fished a lot on the boat. We've got a photograph, I guess he'll show at some point.
Yeah, Sean will pull that up.
Time. And it has the 4 Melvin brothers on there. They moved here to Destin in the early 1900s. And all of them were fishermen, and all of them were renowned in the area for the way they fished. If you go to Balabatry to this day and say Melvin, they're going to say O.T., which is another uncle. O.T. lived where the Emerald Grand sits right now. But he was known in this whole part of the country for fishing. And if you say Melvin to somebody else, then he might say Pete. Pete was my father-in-law. He was a snapper fisherman, and the best ever was, I guess. And people know that Destin snapper are renowned because of the color. Our water's so clean and so clear that the fish have a vibrant red color. And the fish from Destin are normally sold to the fish market in New York, the Fulton Fish Market. And the red snapper from Destin got the highest price of any of the snapper that came in up there.
That's interesting, and as if anybody's never been to the Destin History and Fishing Museum, we encourage them to do so. You have some beautiful fish hanging on the wall that came out of these waters. Something very, very interesting. Let's throw Shane into this, CEO of
Don't throw me into anything, please.
It's Christmas, he's been thrown around enough.
It is Christmas, we'll keep it light. You know, you're the president CEO of the Destin Area Chamber of Commerce. Your tenure at the Chamber has seen a good bit of work with not just the Primrose, but the museum itself.
Yeah, it has, and mainly it's from our Destin Forward Leadership Class, a program we created about 9 years ago. The assistance in refurbishing the Primrose and the Post Office, I think, which are both parts of this project and restoration, will be the third project that one of our classes has done that is a direct impact on the History and Fishing Museum, with the wheelhouse that's out in front, the sign that they created for the Post Office, which will move with the relocation, and now the Primrose and Post Office restoration and relocation. And it, I think, is the fifth project that the class has done with a direct impact on the harbor and the history and heritage that we have here in this town, which is it's a small community, and I could sit and listen to Jean talk for hours, and I get to do that with one of our classes, because all that she knows, I learn something every time I'm with her. But the history and heritage and tradition that this community has runs so deep, especially as it relates to the harbor and the fishing industry. So for us to be able to help restore and preserve the history of Destin through some of the projects with Destin Forward, I think is tremendous.
We're greatly appreciative of Destin Forward's involvement, and I think that, you know, you mentioned the history and the heritage, and Ms. Jean was talking about how important this area was just to fishing in general a long time ago, and even today. I mean, that's got to be, you're in economic development, that's got to be something that you can tout a little bit when you're going off looking for businesses, people to move here and things of that nature.
It is, and even the businesses that exist here like being here because of the history and heritage. I mean, everything in Destin is developed because of the fishing industry. In Jean's family and other families, Dewey Destin's family, you know, one of the Destin Forward projects was a plaque commemorating Leonard Destin, who founded Destin back in the 1800s. And that was Dewey's great-great-great-grandfather, I think.
He's sixth generation.
Yeah, sixth generation, so I didn't get enough greats
That's
in there.
right.
You know, so you know, to be able to do that and to think that he left Connecticut on a boat and came to Destin, and that's how we were founded and how the fishing industry was founded here. It's just tremendous. And again, for us to be able to be a part of what every community should do, which is preserve its history, its heritage, and its tradition, and tell people about it, for us to be able to be involved in that through Destin Forward and our leadership class, I think is just awesome. We're pleased to be part of it.
Well, that's good. It's really nice to see the community coming together. It's not one person's job to make sure that this works right. It's the museums looking at this, the city itself, the Destin Forward Class and the chamber, many people in the community. We have a boat builder that's from this area that's working on this boat for you. I think you know him pretty
Matt,
good. Tell us about
I do.
Matt.
Matt's a character. He's wonderful. He's very smart. He's built a lot of wooden boats. It was a difficult decision to turn that over to the boat I'm talking about, to anyone. But I did have the confidence that Matt could do what he said he could do, and he's proved himself right. The boat's looking great. He works on it every day, and he's moving right along with it. We hope to have it finished by the middle of December.
And the progress we see, and we have some photos of him working on that boat, is being taken apart. The progress we see is important because, you know, that boat was in severe disrepair. That might even be an understatement. It was falling apart. And when you take a boat out of the water that's sat in the water for 40-something years, how many years did it work, Jean? It was
from 27 to when it came out in and I'm not sure the date.
I think maybe 1968, 1969,
Maybe.
something like
Yeah,
that. I
that
mean, that's a long time for a wooden boat to sit in the water, then come out and sit on dry land. And you know, it's been restored before very well. And what I understand that Matt is doing is putting this boat back to working order, not just to sit there order, but it's going to actually, if it needed to, it could float.
Right.
And he is doing a phenomenal job. We also see the Destin Forward Class out there hauling off scraps. I mean, you would be shocked to see what it takes to renovate a boat that's a little over 30 feet long, a little over 7 feet wide. It's a massive overhauling, and he's doing a phenomenal job.
It sure is.
A lot of work, and you know, we charge our Destin Forward Class. Their project has to be something with a lasting impact on the community, on Destin, and I think this is certainly a lasting impact and a good positive impression that people will have when they come and visit.
Absolutely. There's a financial part of this, it always is, and we've had the privilege, and you have, Miss Jean, of securing some donations, and the chamber's raising some money, but you had a substantial donation from some people you're very familiar with, the Go Southern group, your sons Mike and Brad and their friends, I believe Kevin and Carrie Beach, yeah, they're partners in the business, donated a very healthy sum of money to help make this work. And I had a conversation with Mike recently, and he just expressed the importance of this project to the city and the community, and of course he always loves to help his mother out as well. And they think that it's just on behalf of his staff and the families that work for him, Go Southern and the Beach boys and the Schultz boys are just excited to be a part of it.
They really are, and they've become a big part of watching every day. You know, Mike is the oldest, and he especially drives by to see what's going on. But they were all raised right here in Destin, so it's ingrained in them, the heritage and the fishing. Now, Jeff is the middle one, and he runs a charter boat out of Destin, and he fishes every day. So to know that boat and to know the importance of it is just second nature to him. And we need to have it out there. And the future plan for the museum is to use the property that's adjacent to the museum, and we're going to make a heritage park, and included in that park will be the boat, the Primrose, and the post office.
Yes, ma'am. I think they're working on a site plan for that and trying to figure out exactly how they're going to move it over and what it's going to look like. And
is moving it.
That's right. DAG is making a design, and we have a lot of people in the community helping to what can we do? How can we help move it? As a matter of fact, today I noticed some of the city crew is out taking care of the sides of the old post office because the chamber group is going to come in and help paint that building and get it ready to be put on the museum property sometime in early 2015.
Right, and you know, you brought up the money and the donation from Mike and Brad and the Beaches and Go Southern, and then you talk about Dag doing the design. So many people are coming together for this, and Destin Forward is even having a fundraiser, a breakfast and bowling fundraiser, sometime the end of January, early February, to help raise money for their portion of work as well. I don't have the specific date, but you can call the Chamber of Commerce if you'd like to, the Destin Area Chamber of Commerce, and get details on that as they put that together. It's great to see this community come together for something that's as important as the Primrose and the Post Office.
But you know, that's
Well
Destin.
said.
It is Destin.
Every
It is.
need that the museum has, if the word gets on the street, sometimes it'll be there before, you know, the phone rings and it's like, what do you need? Well, here it comes. I'm sending somebody with money, or I'm sending somebody with whatever it is that we needed. But
Well, that's not a bad problem to have.
Not a
it's
bad
a
problem at
wonderful
all.
thing. That's
Yeah.
what made Destin Destin.
Well, let's talk about how this project's going to wrap up, and the boat will be done well before May of next year. But we're going to have a party, a celebration, and we're going to try to tie that into the Founders Day, annual Founders Day party and event at the Community Center, which is right next to the museum, on May the 2nd, the first Saturday of the month. And we're going to have the Forward Class work on party planning committee and have a christening of the boat. And there's a lot of ideas going into this, but the big thing is that this will now be all sitting on the museum property. It'll be where you can walk through and take a look inside the boat, outside the boat, and understand the importance of it. There'll be some information out there, I think, and the upcoming Founders Day. That'll be a great day, I think, for everybody in the city of Destin.
It will be wonderful. We're going to build a dock, if you will, alongside the boat so that people can actually go up and look in it and see the size of it and see how the cooking, the laundry, everything took place on that boat. You get that many men out for 5 or 6 days, and no telling what could happen on that boat.
That's the truth. That's the truth. As far as the event goes, I've talked to several of the Destin Forward Class members, and you have a strong group of party planners. I think that they are marketers.
Jean said something about that's Destin a while ago. I think you could throw that in there too.
They are planners, they're marketers, they're event coordinators. They really have their stuff together. They have some great ideas. I you probably don't even know most of them, but I know that class is looking forward to making this a big deal for the community.
And I think they're excited to be part of Founders Day, to build this into Founders Day, because we hear so much about Founders Day every year and recognizing the founding families. Again, this class is excited to restore the post office and restore the Primrose and help with that. And then to be part of Founders Day to celebrate the success and the relocation. It's like you said, they're excited and they've got great ideas where this event's concerned.
Well, I couldn't think of a better fit for that class to be involved in the community than with
absolutely.
their museum and with the Primrose and the post office. It's just a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah.
Ms. Jean, we have just about a minute left. Is there anything you'd like to say or add?
Yes. One reason why the Primrose got in such disarray was because Opal took the cover off. It sat like that for a long time. We've had people come forward talking about volunteers. The Baker Metal Works is donating a new roof. Frank Davis is putting the pilings in to hold the roof. Buddy Gordon is going to put the roof, actually nail it on there, I guess is what. But all of that new covering for the boat has been donated.
Wow.
And that's money that the museum didn't have to come up with.
That is great, and that's important because that's going to help preserve that thing.
Well, it
for a
had to
long
have
time.
it. You know, it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg. We've gone through that. Now we're going to build the shed or we're going to move the boat. So it was.
Well, it's a phenomenal project. We're looking forward to the work of the class and the museum and all the volunteers. Matt Ronk, the boat builder, who's over there right now taking care of that. Thank you both for being on this
Thank
show.
you.
Thank you.
It's a privilege and a history lesson in itself, and we just really enjoy it. I want to make sure you stay tuned for the City of Fort Walton Beach next, and we hope you have a happy holiday season.